Can't and here we come, Skip Bayless. Do you agree with Tony Dungy?
Carrie, Stephen A., when I read this quote last night, I must admit I winced because I knew it was the truth, and the truth hurt. Obviously, I plunged before that draft, and I said Robert Griffin III would wind up being better than Andrew Luck. And during their rookie seasons, RG3 was better than Andrew Luck because he won Rookie of the Year. And yet, I must admit, I haven't seen that RG3 since that ill-fated home playoff game in which the Redskins jumped up 14-0 on the Seattle Seahawks, thanks in large part to RG3's legs and arm. And that was the end of it. The rest is pretty much history, and I fear that Robert Griffin will be history because, Stephen A., I often refer to the eye test. And my eyes keep telling me he isn't the same, and I fear he'll never be the same. It now looks like to me that Superman is playing with a sliver of kryptonite in each of his superhero socks that he wears. And it's dragging him down because he's not that stunning athlete that we all knew and some of us loved. And I cannot tell a lie. Coach Dungy, Stephen A., is dead on correct.
No, that was tough for you, Skip Bayless. Sorry it had to come to that. But I did tell you before the draft that Andrew Luck should be the #1 overall pick. And I even said to you that RG3 has an upside, a greater upside, arguably at the time. But my issue with RG3 wasn't just about skill. It was primarily about durability. He's obviously an intellectual. RG3 knows the Washington Redskins offense inside and out. He knows what he's doing. The indecisiveness, or whatever you want to call it, the hesitancy, the reluctance, is because of comfort in the pocket. And it's because he knows that physically he's limited compared to what he used to be. And that's what this comes down to. When you know that you are not what you were supposed to be and what you once were, health-wise, it has a profound effect and has a profound impact. And when you talk about durability in the sport of football, take a look at RG3's legs and then look at Andrew Luck's legs. The dude he's a big boy. He's a big boy. Andrew Luck can run with the football, but he's comfortable in the pocket. He's comfortable as a signal caller. He's comfortable with the requisite skills it requires to be an elite quarterback on the NFL level. He's not somebody that has electrifying skills that has to develop those fundamentals. He has those fundamentals. He's developing into a superstar. That's the difference. And this is what Andrew Luck has and what RG3 does not. And as a result of it, when you couple that, Skip, with the fact that RG3, and I'm not knocking him for this, we understand that when you're an NFL player, there's a short window of opportunity for you to maximize the opportunities available to you, and you want to make sure you position yourself to get paid, to get recognition, to build your brand, etc. But there is something to be said about the fact that Andrew Luck isn't concerned about any of that. You know why? Because he's a football player, and the primary reason he's cool with just being a football player is that he knows he's going to be a great one. And he expects and anticipates being around for the long haul as opposed to having the attitude, I've got to make the most of my opportunities right now because who knows when it's going to come to an end. Neither is wrong for having their respective attitudes, but it's clear what works for a quarterback in the NFL. And it apparently works Luck's way instead of RG3's. And it's just that simple.
You know, I tried to be humble when I started this topic. I tried to eat a little crow and be a little bit painfully honest here. And then you tried to just shame me, and you've ticked me off now. And I'm coming back at you with both barrels. Now, let's start off with the fact that you have once again fallen into the trap that infuriates me. You are prematurely coronating Andrew Luck. I'm sorry, I haven't seen it yet. You even said the other night off the Monday night game, you give him only a B, I gave him a C+. I'm not sold as Coach Dungy seems to be about he's the next great quarterback. He threw 7 interceptions in 2 playoff games last year. That's number one. Now, let's go back to RG3. Am I supposed to sit there as I watched him game after game at Baylor and say, oh, the NFL's going to break him in 2. He's too slender. He's too fragile. He had a knee injury when he was a sophomore at Baylor. Baloney! They all have injuries in college. I'm not going to swallow that from you. And I have a question for you. Oh, mystic guru that you are as you predict NFL drafts. Question. Who's the greatest quarterback ever? Is it not Joe Montana? Would you give me that? Joe Montana, greatest quarterback ever? Okay. Yep. Compare the body of Joe Montana, the physique of Joe Montana as he came out of Notre Dame with the physique of one RG3 as he came out of Baylor. They're the same guy. They're built exact. They're long and slender. Joe Montana, slender dude, ballet dancer in the pocket. And listen, in his first 3 years, he could run a little bit. He couldn't run like RG3, but he could flat out run. So tell me how Joe Montana survived. There's a lot of luck involved here, so to speak, Andrew. But in my case, I could not predict that RG3 was going to get hurt as badly as he got hurt at the end of his rookie year, and he never bounced back. He had some psychological and emotional issues that we talked about, as I thought he got a little too full of himself as the leader of the Washington Redskins in Washington, D.C. But don't tell me that you saw it coming that he couldn't last in the NFL.